Let's consider the question on the board. The question says 16 raised to the power of x minus 17 dot 4 raised to the power of x. This dot is also a sign for multiplication. So we could also read this as 17 times 4 raised to the power of x plus 16 is equal to 0. How do we solve this? It's very simple. The first is the right solution. Now we have to consider the terms with the power raised to the power of x. Now on the board, 16 is raised to the power of x and 4 is also raised to the power of x. If you are comparing between the two numbers, we observe that 16 is greater than 4. That means it is also possible to change this 16 raised to the power of x into 4 as the base raised to a certain power. Alright, let's do that. 16, rewriting the question, we have 16 raised to the power of x minus 17 times 4 raised to the power of 4 raised to the power of x, rather 4 raised to the power of x plus 16 equal to 0. 16 is basically the same as 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And 4 times 4, in this multiplication, is only 4 that is being used. So we are going to write 4. Count the total number of times 4 appears. 1, 2. That becomes the power 2. 16 is equivalent to 4 raised to the power of 2. Let's bring this over to this. We have 4 raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of x minus 17 times 4 raised to the power of x plus 16. This yields 0. Now note this, 4 raised to the power of 2 in bracket raised to the power of x is the same as 4 raised to the power of x in bracket 2. Their power can be interchanged. So we can use these two to interchange with this x or multiply with the x. Let's bring this substitution over to this place. So this becomes 4 raised to the power of x raised to the power of 2, rather, raised to the power of 2 minus 17.4 raised to the power of x plus 16 equal to 0. Looking at this, the essence of interchanging the index or the power was to obtain the same term as what is written here. Over here we have 4 raised to the power of x, and here we also have 4 raised to the power of x. So now they are looking alike. We can easily solve this. The middle term is 17.4 raised to the power of x. While the first term here is 4 raised to the power of 2, then in bracket raised to the power of x. But because we already have a term that has 4 raised to the power of x in this equation, we must also do the same to have the same thing in this place. So that is the relevance or the essence of interchanging their index or their power. from 4 raised power of 2x to 4 raised power of x 2, which is basically the same. From this stage, we have to substitute a letter in place of 4 raised power of x and 4 raised power of x. That will make the equation to look a little bit beautiful. What do I mean by the term beautiful? It will make this equation a little bit simpler. So that becomes, let 4 raised power of x represent a particular letter. What letter should we choose? Let's choose letter P. Let 4 raised power of x represent P. That means any place where 4 raised power of x is written, we can easily substitute the 4 raised power of x with this letter P. Let 4 raised power of x equals P. Rewriting this equation, when 4 raised to the power of x is P, let's rewrite this equation. We have 4 raised to the power of x squared minus 17 times 4 raised to the power of x plus 16 equal to 0. We are saying that let P represent 4 raised to the power of x. If that is so, then 4 raised to the power of x becomes P raised to the power of 2 minus 17 times 4 raised to the power of x, which is P, plus 16 is equal to 0. What is the observation? We observe that this last equation is a quadratic term. This last equation has a quadratic terms, so we are going to solve this using a quadratic method, either by factorization method or by computing the square method, or we can use the formula method or the almighty formula. Now, using factorization method, the coefficient of p squared is 1 and the constant term is 16. So we are going to multiply 1 by 16. If you multiply 1 by 16, it will give you, that is, product means times. If you multiply 1 by 16, it will give you plus 16. 1 is the coefficient of p squared, while the 16 is the constant term. And the sum means plus. Sum is the coefficient of p on the board. And the coefficient of p is minus 17. Minus 17. Now think of two numbers. When you multiply, it will give you 16. And when that same two numbers are added, it will give you minus 17. What should those two numbers be? They are minus, or should I like to think? Alright, they are, can pause the video and think of the two numbers, but they are minus 16 and minus 1. Let's check. Minus 16 said product must give us plus 16. So minus 16 times minus 1 is plus 16. Again, the sum must give us minus 17. Minus 17 plus minus 1 gives minus 17. That means minus 16 and minus 1 satisfy this requirement. So let's use these two in this calculation. We have p raised to the power of 2 minus 16p minus 1p plus 16 is equal to 0. When you get to this point, we have treated this video in this channel. So that's the reason I don't really want to emphasize on this. After obtaining the two values or the two factors or the two numbers, you substitute those numbers with the middle term. That is to say, this term is going to be eliminated, and the minus 16 and the minus 1 is going to be used to replace them. P squared minus 16p minus 1p plus 16 equals 0. So by pairing, we have two brackets, two terms in it. By pairing, we look for what is common between these two, and that is p in brackets. P times p gives p squared minus p times 16 gives 16p. Then minus, between p and 16, the common factor there is just 1. So we have p minus 16. This is equivalent to 0. We can make p the subject. How do we make p the subject at this juncture? Now we consider what is written inside the brackets. Consider what is written inside the brackets. They must be the same. So if you observe, the two brackets are basically the same, with the same sign. Because they are the same, I must pick one bracket and equate it to 0. That means p minus 16 is equal to 0. And if you are required to make p the subject, p will equal to 16. That's what that means. What is not written inside the bracket should also be written outside and be equated to 0. Let's look at those terms that are not written in bracket. P minus 1. They are not inside the bracket, they are all outside. So let's bring them outside. P minus 1 is equal to 0. So making p the subject from here, p will also equal to 1. So p equals 16 or p equals 1. Because it's a quadratic equation, two results must be obtained. And these two answers gotten are not called answer. They are called the quadratic roots. Okay, this is not the final result because we were required to find the value of x and not the value of p. We said let 4 raised to the power of x equal to p. Now we know the value of p, that p is 16 and p is also 1. Since p is 16 and also 1, because p is 16 and also 1, let's say 4 raised to the power of x equal to 16 equal to p. we say let 4 raised power of x equal to p. And p is 16. So we are going to remove 16, p rather, and replace it with 16. Do you understand? So that becomes 4 raised power of x is equal to 16. At the left hand side, a bigger number is carrying a smaller number. That means it is written in its index form. While in my right hand side, the case is different. Because the case is different, I have to also change this person so it will look like this person. That means 4 raised power of x is equal to, how do we change 16 into something as this? That is 4 raised power of 2. Now take note of this. 4 raised power of 2 means 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 gives 16. So by comparison, we observe that at my right hand side and my left hand side, the bigger numbers are 4 and 4. While their powers respectively are x and 2. Since the bigger numbers are the same, since the bases are the same, that means their power must be the same. So x, 4 cancels 4, and x is equal to 2. X equal to 2 is the final result. You can also determine the value of x when p is equal to 1. Drop the answer in the comment section.